Hello, everybody. Happy Friday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. We've got another Seahawks video to get to today, but first we just hit 3,240 subscribers to the channel. Shout out to all the subscribers, and special tip of the cap goes to the channel members, especially elite channel members, White, Brendon, Mikel, Hasher for MVP, VGK Tigers 75, Rye Guy, Salacious Crumb, Brendan Nelson's Haircut, TVO, It's Hoof, The Reno, 12th Man, Austin Roberts, Scott Todd, and new Elite Channel member PH Glass. All right, we're almost done, guys. Only a few more positions to evaluate for the 2021 draft, and the Seahawks will have been fully scouted out in terms of the players that I think they might target. There are definitely some guys who I've picked up on the way who I didn't directly discuss that are interesting, but we'll have done a pretty good job of taking a look at just about everybody I think this team should be interested in by the end of this series. So we're obviously on two positions of a small need, not a big need, not even a modest need, but I want to cover all my bases. And this is a position where there might be a need now, and there probably is going to be a need later. By later, I mean 2022 and beyond. So I am talking about defensive tackle, specifically the one tech. So for those who don't know the terminology, a one tech defensive tackle is typically the fat tack. He's the run stuffer. He's the big guy. He's the guy who's meant to eat up as many blockers as possible and just cause chaos on the offensive line so other players can make the plays. He wants to absorb the attention of multiple blockers so everyone else is freed up to go one-on-one, or if you're a linebacker, be freed up entirely. So right now, the one tech defensive tackles on this team, as I see it, are Al Woods, who's 34 years old and took 2020 off because of COVID. Good player. He played well last time he was here in 2019, but not super excited for him to be a featured part of this defense, playing more than 500 snaps in 2021. And last time he played, he got busted for steroids. So if that was something that he needed in order to play at a high level, then that's going to be a problem if he can no longer do that. And behind him, we have Brian Monet. Brian Monet, I like him. A lot of people like him. But at the end of the day, in 2020, he had 9 tackles, which was his career high. He had a decent PFF grade of 64, 228 snaps last season. So I like him well enough to say he can probably go up to 300, maybe 350 snaps, but he's certainly not someone who I'm super excited about throwing out there for 45 to 50 snaps a game. So if one of these guys gets hurt, it becomes a little tricky. Now, in a pinch, Poona Ford can slide back to one tech. If we have a problem with Woods or Monet, Poona goes back over to one tech. I don't really want to do that much, though. We do not have a full-time 3-tech on the roster if Poona isn't playing 3-tech. So sliding Poona over means you're playing Rasheem Green and LJ Collier at 3-tech, which is fine a good percentage of the time, but I don't want to do it all the time. So the balancing act becomes a lot more difficult if you have to slide Poona over. So I would prefer not having to do that this year. And either way, Al Woods and Brian Monet are both free agents this next offseason. Al Woods will likely retire, and Monet is somebody who will probably be surviving on 1-year contracts for the foreseeable future. So who knows if he's going to be back next year. It really depends on whether or not he plays well this year. So would not be a shock if we had no one-techs next year. So we might need a little one-tech help now, and we probably need one-tech help in the future. So either way you slice it, I think this is worth taking a look at for at least a little bit here. So I've assembled 5 defensive tackles who are going to be in this draft, who I think will go in the 4th round or later. So the Seahawks will have the chance to draft them without spending a lot of draft capital. So let's jump right in here, starting with prospect number 1. Interesting name here. This is Marlon Tufliotu. Let's see how close I got here. Marlon Tupluotu. We're going to go with that for now. If we draft him, I'll figure out what it actually is. So he's a 21-year-old player from USC, Pac-12 guy, 6'2", 308 pounds, 29 bench reps of 225 pounds at the combine. So pretty good. Not quite as big as you might like from a one tech, but at USC he displayed those skills. His college football career, part-time player in 2017. 2018 had a breakout year, 33 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. 2019 continued to break out, 46 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 3 pass deflections. Shortened season in 2020, 23 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. So, not bad. Pretty good stats. He actually got involved a little bit more than you would have expected as a one tech. USC has that other defensive tackle, Jay Tufule. This was kind of his partner in crime. This guy tended to play the one tech, and Jay Tufule tended to play the three tech. As for where he might get drafted, there seems to be consensus here. The main players all say he's going to be a fourth rounder, early in the fourth, late in the fourth, somewhere in the fourth round. Walter Football had him unranked. Everyone else had him in the fourth. So I expect him to be a fourth round pick, just outside the top 100, basically. So it's going to be a little expensive to bring in, maybe a little more expensive than we're willing to go for, but I don't think it's worthless to consider this possibility. So Marlon Tupluotu, he's a good athlete for his size and role in terms of body control and agility. He's got a little more mobility than you would expect from a one tech. Most one techs tend to just waddle around. This guy's a little better than that. He does have a solid bull rush that he can use on passing downs. He did assemble 8.5 sacks over the last 3 years. That's something. That's not nothing. It's a lot better than a lot of one techs in college football have. He's excellent against the run. He was his whole career at USC, and that's not something reflected in the direct stats. So, yeah, this guy is excellent against the run. He knows how to read blocks very well. He's a cerebral player. He knows how to read the blocks to know where the ball's probably going to go. He's got good lateral mobility, which is very valuable for a player like this. Puna, that's one of Puna Ford's strengths, and it could be his strengths as well. He may have a future as a three tech as well. I think you could make an argument for both roles for him because he seems capable of both sides, which, as it turns out, is what we have with Puna. So maybe this could be the next Puna Ford. All right, so that is prospect number 1. Intriguing guy if you don't mind spending fourth round capital on him. Let's roll on to prospect number 2. Another interesting name, Kairos Tonga of the BYU Cougars? Cougars. They're the Cougars, right? Yeah. So this guy's a little bigger than Marlon, 6'4", 322 pounds, 35 bench reps. That's really good. 35 is a solid total. Not going to break the records, but it's very good. And he had a very nice 4-year career at BYU. 2017, 19 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 3 pass deflections. 2018, he broke out a little bit more. 30 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 2 pass deflections. 2019, even more. 45 tackles, 4 TFLs, 1 sack, 2 pass deflections. 2020, 36 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 5 pass deflections. Really good year given the fact that it was the COVID year. Actually, he really left his impact on games in a lot of positive ways. So I like this guy a lot as well. He is probably going to be about a 6th round pick, if I had to guess. If you take a look at the aggregate here, Pro Football Focus thinks he can be a 5th rounder. Network and both Draft Network and Pro Football Network say 6th round. Walter Football says 5th through the 7th, and ESPN says borderline 7th. I feel like he's going to be a 5th round pick, personally. He aligned as both a 1 tech and a 0 tech for BYU. So sometimes they would have an odd front and he would get to play the nose tackle. Sometimes he would be the 1 tech in a 4-3. He's an excellent run defender, extremely difficult to block with a single lineman. And that's the kind of stuff we're looking for with anybody we would bring in. We want somebody to eat up blockers and let our linebackers do their thing. He has the ability to get to the ball carrier. These stats are good for a 1 tech. 45 tackles in one season for a nose tech is pretty good. It's not bad at all. So he does have the ability to get to the ball carrier. He's very strong, which is proven by his bench rep count. Gets his hand up to knock down passes. He amassed, 12 pass deflections over a 4-year career. Really nice for a defensive tackle. If he did that in the NFL, he would probably be one of the most prolific knockdown artists in the game, right up there with maybe not J.J. Watt, but he would be up there with some of the best not named J.J. Watt. He does need to get a little better at disengaging with blockers once he's engaged, but for a guy who's probably going to be a one tech in the NFL, it's not exactly the most dire thing either. So, Kira's Tonga, very intriguing 5th-round prospect. I like him. Very interested to see if the Seahawks can maybe bring him in the 5th or 6th round. Okay, that was prospect number 2. Let's jump ahead to prospect number 3. Tedarrell Slaton of the Florida Gators. Like this guy too. Another late round prospect the Seahawks should definitely kick the tires on. Went to Florida, couldn't find his age. 6'5", 358 pounds. This guy is huge. Huge. And he doesn't look like he's 360. He looks like he's 330, which I'll comment on in a minute here because his frame is so well built. But he's 360 right now. That's crazy. 27 bench reps, pretty good. His stats at Florida over the years, he got better with each passing season. Never really became a superstar, but 2020 was very nice for him. 2017, 11 tackles, 1.5 for loss. 2018, 21 tackles, 1.5 for loss. 1 interception. You don't see that every day. 2019, 29 tackles, 3.5 TFLs, 2 sacks, 1 PD. Nice season. 2020, best season yet, 38 tackles, 3.5 for loss, and 1.5 sacks. Very nice stuff from Tedarrell Slaton. So, Walter Football loves this guy. They say he's going to go in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. Nobody else likes him that much, though. Draft Network says 6th. Pro Football Focus says 7th. Pro Football Network says he's a fringe 7th. And ESPN says undrafted. So we're probably looking at a 6th or 7th round pick. But 360 pounds is no joke, so don't be surprised if he creeps up a little bit. He's built extremely well. He weighs 360 pounds, but he looks like he weighs about 330 just because of the fact that he's got that big frame, and it doesn't look like he's obese or anything like that. He looks well built. He's great at getting lower than the other man and using leverage. Once he uses his leverage, it's GG for the other guy. Very tough to deal with. He's very powerful. He's very stout. He's not going to get blown off the ball very much. You're not going to move him out of the gaps. He's an ideal 0 tech or 1 tech. For us, he would obviously be a 1 tech. He can rush the passer with a bull rush or swim move. He does have some pass rush ability, but not much. We're talking about 3.5 sacks over the last 2 years. It's not his game. It's not really his game. He's mostly just a 2-down tackle with very limited pass rush value. But players do develop. Look at, again, Poona Ford. Somewhat inconsistent against the run. So it seems like Tedarrell Slaton is not a higher pick because he doesn't have a big motor. He could use work on his engine. He needs better effort. That's one thing I got from looking this guy up. He needs to get better in the effort category. But if he can do that, I think you have yourself a steal in the 6th round. So that's prospect number 3 for me. Now we're doing prospect number 4. This is Bobby Brown III from Texas A&M. This might be my favorite guy in this list, but he might be the hardest to get, and I'll get to why in a second here. Bobby Brown III, Texas A&M, 6'4", 315 pounds, could not find his bench reps, which is unfortunate. He did not do them when he had his pro day. Only a 3-year career. Never put up the big stats until 2020. 2018, he did have 14 tackles and 1 tackle for loss. 2019, 21 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, half a sack, 1 pass deflection. 2020, he showed what he can do in a big way. Only 22 tackles, 7.5 of them for loss. You don't see that often from a 1 tech. 5.5 sacks. You really don't see that often for a 1 tech. This guy might be a good all-around defensive tackle in general. He might be a 3 tech. Because of this, Pro Football Focus really likes him and thinks he'll be a 3rd round pick. But nobody else does. ESPN says 4th rounder. Pro Football Network says 5th rounder. Walter Football says 4th, 5th, or 6th, and the Draft Network says 6th to 7th rounder, somewhere in that range. So I don't know where this guy's going to go. If I had to guess, I would say somewhere in the 5th round based off what I'm reading here, but I like his talent a lot. He could go higher for sure. He's extremely well built. He knows how to maintain leverage and not give up his gaps. He's solidly built, man. He's not somebody you're going to be able to push out of those gaps. He's just strong and he knows how to use it. He's got great lower body strength. He's excellent against the run. He's got his natural strength, which is significant. I know I couldn't find his bench reps, but he's got good natural strength. It gives him some ability to get to the quarterback as well. So there is a little bit of ability there for him to get to the quarterback, which he showed in 2020 to excellent degree. 5.5 sacks in one season for a defensive tackle who plays the one tech is excellent. He knows how to deal with double teams. The only negative I found on him was his motor, kind of like the guy we just looked at, to Darrell Slayton. His effort can occasionally come and go. Minor criticism that could bloom into a major criticism if you can't figure it out at the pro level. But yeah, Bobby Brown III, he's the one guy I'd put here who might actually be a top 100 pick, but I don't think he's going to be. I think we're probably looking at a 5th round pick because of his motor issues. There are just going to be some teams that don't want to mess with that, but I like his talent, and if he's hanging around in the 5th round, I might just have to go do it. I like his potential. I feel like there's something here for Bobby Brown III. So, prospect number 4 is in the books. Let's swing on over to our 5th and final prospect at defensive tackle. And this is Naquan Jones of the Michigan State Spartans. Yes, Spartans. 23 years old, little older than the average rookie, but not a problem. 6'4", 323 pounds, already pretty big. Only 20 bench reps, which is not exactly what you're looking for, but I like this prospect a lot too. He's probably not going to get drafted, or if he does, he's looking at like being a 7th rounder. Had a 4-year career. The stats are not particularly remarkable. 2017, he had 13 tackles, 5 for loss, 1 pass deflection. 2018, 25, which was his career high. 3.5 tackles for loss, a sack, and a pass deflection. 2019, 15 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 sack. 2020, 24 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection. There's some good stuff in there, but it's not as good as some of the other stat lines we've seen today. His approximate draft value, Walter Football likes him more than anyone else. Walter thinks he can go in the 4th through 6th. Every Draft Network says fringe 7th rounder, and everyone else says undrafted. So I think this guy will probably go in the 7th. He might go undrafted. That would be my guess right now. He's got a great mix of size and mobility. For a big dude who's, almost 325 pounds, he can move. So in terms of the talent, he's a prototype. He's everything you could want in a defensive tackle in terms of his body and his attributes. He's got very good upper body power. He knows how to use his punch very well. He's a candidate to be able to challenge gaps in the NFL. He should be good as a one tech, which is obviously the thing we want to highlight here, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. He's got tremendous punch power, knows how to use it to push people off their marks and disrupt offensive lines. However, his potential in college football never manifested over 4 years. As you can see, his career highs were 25 tackles, 5 tackles for loss. He had 2 sacks over 4 years. The stats just don't match up with the talent, I don't think. Has some technique issues that limit his great physical talent, and he's not much of a pass rusher, as you can clearly see from his numbers. So if Naquan Jones is there in UDFA, you might want to go for that. You might really be getting a steal in Naquan Jones if he can slip through the entire draft process. So that's going to do it for defensive tackles. Those are the 5 who caught my eye when I was scouting them out. All of them should be available in day 3, if not after day 3. So you don't have to spend a ton to do it. I would definitely consider bringing one of them in. Maybe refresh the practice squad with somebody a little more exciting than Cedric Lattimore or DeMarcus Christmas or whoever it is back there right now. So, yeah, just something to think about as the 3rd day of the draft rolls around. So, I'm going to get out of here. Peace out. Go Hawks. See you guys later tonight in stream. We can talk about this stuff if you want to. I know it's not the biggest position of need right now, but don't discount it. Don't discount it. See you guys later.